I don't want to say I told you so, but my negativity and my criticism has rung true. Let's talk about what's going on in the Battlefield community.
Welcome
to Uplink.
But before we get started, I want you to know about a podcast that I and Sammy Boy do each Friday, weekly release on the Battlefield called The Battlefield Show. Definitely check it out in the description or wherever you find podcasts. We're on this channel every Friday. So, if you did not know, Battlefield 2042 has been delayed to November 19th. And as was kind of expected, I said this a few times in previous videos on this channel, and it was starting to get to the point. I mean, we haven't really heard much communication in terms of an official trailer for the game. Last time we saw something was Exodus, and that was over a month ago. So Battlefield 2042 has kind of been in the shadows, and understandably so. It was it was catching some heat, especially from me. I do not appreciate the lack of communication around this game. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that are like, okay, fine, whatever, stop crying about the game. I don't care that the game's delayed, and I want to get into this a little bit in the video, but I don't care that the game is delayed. What I care about is the communication. The whole thing around a marketing specific team is them to handle the marketing. They are not specific, the social media manager, the marketing producer, whatever, they are not working on the game in terms of development. Maybe in some game studios that works, but at the size of DICE, they have their own specific marketing head and team. Or they should. They're not specifically working on the development. So that's my struggle with that side of things, is they should have communicated either small updates that said, hey, maybe you can. It's all about setting up the story. It's all about setting up that story arc. You can't just say, oh, hey, we're working on this thing, and then 6 months later be like, oh, hey, look, this thing's great and it's wonderful. And then people are like, okay, yeah, you made the whole game in 6 months, right? Except it does not put into account all of the massive amounts of hours into the game. So there's all of that. I have struggles with, I have strong criticism on the management of the marketing and the management of the communication between the fans and the game developers and the game itself. It's not on the developers' shoulders to update the team, and I have criticized them a few times on that front. It should be through the official channels, and it should not be the developers that are giving us the news. It should be the official Battlefield or DICE Twitter accounts or Reddit posts. It should be the official sources or the community managers, but not on their specific personal accounts. I think that is something that the game development industry needs to step away from. It's such a toxic area, because then you put the developers in the line of sight and they have to deal with all the heat versus what should be the corporation or the corporate face of the community. But that's a side. What is actually happening around the delay? Battlefield 2042 has been delayed to November 19th, and I'm all for delays. I am a huge proponent of a game getting delayed. I think it is something that they should totally do. I think it's fair. I do have some concerns about the new release date, considering this will be releasing after Call of Duty, and I think one of the big strengths that this game was going for was the release date before Call of Duty. I think that was really going for it. A lot of people would have picked this up before Call of Duty and maybe would have just stuck with that, because a lot of people only have one game, and if it's a decision between Battlefield, which comes out first, and Call of Duty, which comes out later, I think a lot of people would choose Battlefield. Now that Call of Duty is coming out, maybe you only buy one shooter game a year, and that's all that you do, and it's dependent on which one comes first. I don't think Battlefield 2042, while it is going to be a fantastic game, and I think the amount of time that they're putting extra into it is really going to pay off in the long run, I don't think, even with the subpar response around Vanguard, it can't hold its own against Call of Duty. Even the dumpster fire of a game that Infinite Warfare was, could not stand up to Battlefield 1, which Infinite Warfare rivaled that of Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 1 is touted as one of the best games in the franchise. And Infinite Warfare was touted as one of the worst games in the Call of Duty franchise. But even that game was able to outsell and outperform one of the top Battlefield games. So there's multiple things to this. There's the whole marketing snafu. Like, I do not like the marketing for this game. I think the communication has been awful. They've not been a good job doing that. I feel so bad for the developers. They're going to get so much heat for this. I'm really appreciative of the community so far. Overall, I think a lot of the content creators are being very gracious about this, even ones that have been very negative in the past. It's not the fault of the developers. The developers are working in a worldwide pandemic. They're working from home for the first time, probably in their careers. Because game development is one of those things where, like, you're in the studio and you're working. Like, we don't even offer work from home. Like, that's not a thing. But this rush to work from home, this development of one of the biggest games in the franchise, multiple development teams working all around the world. I feel for the developers. I think they're under a lot of stress for sure, and they're definitely going to be crunching. And I hope that they don't run into issues that previous games have as they've been delayed, where the teams go into overdrive, they go work constantly, they're working 100-hour weeks. Hopefully that does not count. That's not a thing with DICE, but probably is, because game development's always one of those things where they push the team super hard and it's just such a toxic environment. So hopefully the developers are able to take time for themselves and aren't in such a bad situation that they take time away from their families. They do all these things. I hope that they don't have this happen to them. I feel for the developers, and I hope that they all get the time that they need to work on a great game, because the passion around the game really comes from those developers and the fans' reaction to those. Like, ultimately, I feel the developers are in a really good spot to kind of make one of the best experiences listening to the community. I hope that they communicate with the community, because that's been bad. But I hope ultimately that they come together and they're able to really put the extra effort. Tom Henderson said he saw a leaked beta gameplay run that was very similar to what we've seen in the past. So I assume that the UI and the product development around this game, in terms of mechanics, in terms of how things look visually, were quite close to release. And they had to push a lot of that back because of that negative fan reaction, and then they smoothed it over with, okay guys, it's fine, this is not final, even though probably it was very close to final, and they're having to rework entire systems, which was always the concern with the beta. We were concerned that the beta was coming out too late to be able to get this kind of feedback. And this has happened before. I hate to bring this up, but Battlefield 5, it got delayed too, very similarly. It was originally planned for October 19th, and they got delayed to November 20th. Now, this game was originally touted to be early access October 15th, and it was to release officially October 22nd. Now it's getting moved to November 19th, and I don't know if that's the official launch or if it is the early access. So if it is the official launch, 7 days before that, so probably November 12th or so, we'll get the early access for that game. So there are so many different types and facets to this game. It's one of the biggest franchises, going up against the biggest franchise in terms of first-person shooters. And I don't know if it can take that victory. I think they're really going to rely on those new those core Battlefield players that are going to come in and really support this game at launch. Ultimately, we're going to see, hopefully, a good reaction and good response after that, and we'll see how it goes in terms of attracting new audiences. So I think it's going to be fascinating. Already this game has been one of the most memorable game launches, and it is definitely going to be one of the most memorable releases for Battlefield for sure. Coming up after the subpar launch of Battlefield 5, and then going up and kind of following the same path of Battlefield 5, but hopefully they come back out of it and are able to learn from those mistakes, even though it seems that they haven't done so yet. And finally, we're going to hear about the beta later this month. That's all they said. So expect to hear from the beta, or about the beta, on September 30th at 11:59 p.m. and 59 seconds. Last possible moment. I expect something along those lines will happen. Let me know what you think. I think we all expected something like this after a massive amount of time between communications. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. See you on the battlefield.